Hello, I'm Pamela Davis. Welcome to episode 139 of the Well Done Life podcast. Hello, and welcome back to episode 139 of the Well Done Life podcast. I'm your host, Pamela Davis. If you are new here, hey, how are you? Welcome. I am so glad that you are here with us this week. If you've been here before, you guys know the deal. I love you deep. Thank you so much for continuing to rock with me on the journey. Your support means everything to me. Before we get started with this week's episode, I want to make sure that I set the tone. I really know that I probably sound like a broken record, but I love to be very foundational, and I want to make sure that we are building this safe space, this house, on very strong ground. And so that means that I like to make sure you understand that everything that we do here is based in clarity and love. Clarity is really straightforward. I just like to make sure that you understand that I created the Well Done Life podcast because I wanted to create a space for women to be our most authentic selves. I'll say it, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think women are the foundation of society, and we need places and spaces where we can show up as our most authentic self. We can shed a tear, we can laugh, we can have a good time, we can be learning and inspiring each other on the journey. And that's what we do here in the Well Done Life. So welcome. Then, of course, we have to talk about the second foundation, which is my favorite foundation, because love is a thing. So love is always going to be at the root of everything that we do here in this space. And so with that, I like to make sure that I let you know that you are loved through prayer. It is so important for me to send you prayers every week because I think we need to pray for each other a little bit more. And so this week, I want to make sure that I'm sending you prayers of peace. You know, the year is starting off with a bang. Life is lifing for many of us. So I hope that you're taking time out to carve out pockets of peace for yourself, whatever that looks like. Reading a book, having a cup of coffee, a drink of water, just a nap, whatever peace looks like to you. I hope you are carving out time for that, because everyone has demands, but there is no demand that should supersede your peace. So definitely I'm praying for you to have peace. And of course, because love is the foundation of everything we do, I'm always going to pray for you to have, love. And I'm talking good reciprocal love too. I want you to feel love from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. I want you to have love that adds value to you and that you add value to. I'm talking, like I said, a good, real love, because we deserve it. That really is it. That's my sermon right there. We deserve it. And it's time for us to start asking for what we deserve and accepting nothing less than that, because we're worth it. And along that line, also, I'm sending you prayers of strength. A lot of people that I know right now are in a very transformative time in their life. Heck, I'm in a very transformative time in my life. I'm in my golden renaissance, as I have liked to tell you guys about, but I know a lot of people are in some very transformative moments right now in their life. Don't give up. I know that there are dreams that you are trying to birth. There is healing that you are trying to do. There are journeys that you're embarking on that you have no idea how the path may lay out for you. Don't give up on you. Don't give up on it. Even though it may not look like it's going to happen when you think it's going to happen, if I've learned anything, all things are working, even when we don't think they are working. Surrender and have faith in yourself. Have faith in your strength. Have faith in your abilities. Know that if you have to pivot, it may just be a delay, but not a denial. And so don't give up. Just don't give up. And I just wanted to bring that out because, like I said, I know that this is a big, abundant season for me, but I know it's just not me. I know that there are many dreams and visions and births and milestones that are going to happen in this time. And it's going to require us to stay strong, focused, prayed up, And I just want to make sure I send some good juju, some love and positivity into the atmosphere for you. So those are some of the prayers that I have on my heart for you this week. I hope this week is going well for you. I am recording on Tuesday, January the 24th at 8:43. It feels good to be back. I took a little break, a little pause for the cause, as I like to say, last weekend. And I want to thank everybody for their grace. I just needed a moment. It had just been really hectic time. And I just don't like to dial it in. When I come to you guys, I really like to come to you fully myself, fully ready to go. So today I am here, I am back, I am ready, and I have a guest for you guys. And I'm very excited about sharing her with you. She's a very dynamic person that I got a chance to connect with through social media, and her name is Dana Frost. And we had a really profound conversation around intention, around just taking care of ourselves. So I hope that you sit back, relax, and enjoy this conversation. It felt like we were old friends by the time we finished talking. And so if you will stand by, Dana will be with you in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, Pamela. It's such a pleasure to be here. I really loved our pre-conversation, and I was super excited to get to know you. So thank you for the invitation.
Oh, I'm so honored to have you here. Thank you. It is my pleasure. You have been so flexible with my sea of madness. As yes, we were talking about before we started, I'm in my golden renaissance, but the golden renaissance beginning to this 5th decade of my life, it's definitely been a journey.
Yeah. You know, we have so many expectations, Pamela, when the new year starts. I just did an episode on my podcast about this. We have these expectations.
Yeah.
And when we roll in, and in my case, I was sick and I, wasn't anticipating that because I've been so healthy. And then I was starting to feel melancholy and was like, gosh, I don't want to start the new year like that. And when I just decided this is what it is, lean in and be gentle and loving with yourself and seek some wisdom in your quiet time about what's going on, why the melancholy. Yes. And everything, when I just dedicated sacred space to that, everything melted and I just got I received a lot of clarity. So yeah, I really resonated with your episode about your love letter to surrender.
Oh, yes. Well, that is like my key thing right now. I am in a season of surrender, and I don't want to. Yes, we are going to talk about that. But let me give you all reverence. You are a queen. You are here in our space. So can you introduce yourself first? Tell us about you, and then let's dive in.
Sure. Yes. Okay. So I am a Midwesterner at heart. I was born and raised in the Midwest, and I consider myself a Midwest gypsy. Professionally, I come from a social work background, and while living abroad, because I hired a life coach and it was so transformative, I did my coach training starting in 2006. And so I've been in the coaching profession since that time. I added my master coach training and a bunch of different other things, functional nutrition and lifestyle practitioner and aromatherapist, a bunch of different modalities that I needed myself. Mm-hmm. So, I like to think of my work, it is really the alchemy of healing. Because when we're in a crisis or we're in a transition, it's never just one tool. It's usually a myriad of tools that we need. So that's, a little bit about my professional life. I lived abroad with my family for 10 years. We lived in Argentina, Brazil, and Switzerland. And we repatriated to the US. We moved to Chicago in 2008, the end of 2008. And we've been there since, except Miami Beach is now my permanent home. So I'm super excited about that. I've been here since 2021. Okay. And I raised 5 kids. So I know what it's to be a mom, and there's probably nothing I haven't seen in terms of raising kids. I wear everything with a badge of honor because you learn so much. Yeah. Those decades of raising children really teach you a lot about showing up every day, being persistent, being kind, giving direction, giving inspiration, giving guidance. So yeah, that's a part of my story. 2 of those children are adopted, and that doesn't mean that they're any different than my other children, but it does add a dimension of understanding for anyone who has a family that's a mixed family or who has adopted children. There are unique aspects of that relationship, and it doesn't mean they're any less, but those relationships are different. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, Pamela.
I love it. And I can imagine how all of those things have kind of like shaped you into the woman that you are. And when we first met and talked, one of the things that I was inspired by was how you built your platform out of need for yourself. Like, as you mentioned earlier, you always kind of started doing those things when you were like, okay, I identified this need in myself. This is what I need to do. How did you feel? How did you get to that point where you were that confident to bet on yourself in that way?
That is such a great question. How did you get that confident that you were willing to bet on yourself? Wow. Okay. There are so many layered responses to that, Pamela. I think one, I definitely started out in life, and I recognize now feeling loved. I didn't grow up in a perfect family, but I grew up in a family where no one grows up in a perfect family, right? But I felt loved, and I believe that is essential to having confidence, to be able, just belief in yourself. I had a grandmother who believed in me. I had a mom and dad who believed in me, and those are the roots for me, really. And beyond that, I think about this as a parent, and it's true in my own life. When we step up in life, when we try things, I notice like we would give our kids, expand, like their boundaries were narrow, and then you expand their boundaries and you allow them to do things on their own. So then they gain the courage, and then they want to do more things. And so I would say I gained that courage by stepping out and doing something that was on the edge of my comfort zone or beyond my comfort zone. And I realized even if I failed, and I have failed, even if I failed, the world does not tumble down. I can stand back up. It's okay. Failure is a part of it. And so I think that I just know I bet on myself because I know I'm willing to show up regardless of my fear, regardless of my feelings for every day. I had a horrible night's sleep last night, but I know that I can show up in the morning and be present and show up to receive and to give, because I have evidence that works. Does that make sense?
That totally makes sense. And it resonates with me in the sense that since we've been talking about this journey that I'm journeying into, this 5th decade of my life, one of the things that I learned in the previous decade was how to be more intentional with myself. Because I did grow up I grew up in a very loving environment. No one's perfect. My parents were not perfect, but they were perfect for me. That's what I always tell everybody. And along the way, though, through life's journeys, I lost my confidence. So I admire the fact that you have always had this belief in yourself that you can do anything and that you show up every day. It shows your intentionality. Have you always been so intentional, or was that something that you discovered as you started going through life and experiencing different traumas?
I think, the deeper answer to that question, Pamela, is that I believe that our souls come into the human experience for a purpose. And I remember, and so I that rings very true for me. And I remember as a young girl, like 6 years old, we moved into this neighborhood, and the Baptist church bus came around, and I wanted to go. And so I went by myself. I went on the church bus and by myself as a little girl. And I continued to do that as long as we lived in that neighborhood. I think some of it's driven by the soul, and there aren't a lot of words for that, but my experience has taught me that's very much so true. I do think that I have been intentional from a very young age. And I think that that's really soul driven. And then, as we get older and we can bring in purpose into it and intentionality, I do think that I have that inner drive. I mean, that intentionality comes with having, I believe, a routine. You need the form to follow mind, body, spirit. So you've got to bring all aspects of yourself. So I really brought intentionality of a morning quiet time that includes prayer. It includes a lot of different things. And every day may be a little different, but I know I am going to start my day that way. And that sets the tone for life day after day. If I'm willing to show up for myself, to connect with my wise inner teacher, my guide, every day, it's a snowball. It grows. And so that's just really been a part of my experience for many decades.
I love that, because like I was saying, it's like, it's so easy to let life kind of distract you. And the fact that you are so intentional with your routine, definitely, I'm sure it seems like it grounds you. Did that, when you and I were talking before, I know that you have gone through your health journeys, and that's kind of what led you into a segment of your practice. During that time, did you become more intentional about yourself? Or how did that journey through, your health troubles kind of guide you to where you are now on that healing journey?
Yeah. Most definitely, the answer is yes. I think that anytime we have a health crisis, it really is an opportunity. It's an invitation to wake up to something in the body that wants to be seen and heard. And so, I already had my coaching toolbox when I had my health crisis in 2011. And it really made sense to lean into those. So then from, the decade after 2000, from 2011 forward, as I was learning and healing, it became at different times, it became apparent I needed to be more intentional in a certain area. So I think we can have an intention in different arenas of our life, but the health crisis, it really is that invitation to bring the body along with the soul. Some people get ahead of themselves with the body, and the focus is on the body, and they leave a part of the soul behind. And some people get ahead with the soul and they forget that they've got to bring that earth suit along with them. And it wasn't that I didn't take care of myself. I did in many ways, but, I didn't quite understand how a decade's worth of stress compounds itself on the human body. And in certain arenas, I didn't get the help I needed early enough for it to not really kind of take hold in the tissues.
Now that you have kind of gone through that journey, and now we're, just continuing to evolve and trying to live more vitally in our life, how has your intentionality practice towards your health changed, or has it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm working on that right now because I am for sure 6 years menopausal. And as women, the body is always changing.
Yes. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, we have hormone fluctuations throughout our lifespan. And so I've definitely seen over the past 2 years, it's like the body is heavy and the metabolism is slow. And so I think I'm always sort of tuning in, what does the body need? And, I notice that I need more movement. I need more strength training. That's really my focus for this year is 2 times a week, really strenuous strength training. And I'm working myself into it. I'm not there to that heavy duty 2 times a week, but I'm,
Right.
So it's always evolving. And I would say to any woman, really be clear about what your body needs now. Like when I was in my health storm, working out, it was draining. So if we have a strenuous workout, the body reads that as stress. And that's okay. Stress is actually good for the body. But if your adrenals are already drained, if the chemicals in your body that come forward to support you during stress, if they're already depleted, a strenuous workout will further deplete them, and you don't need a strenuous workout at that time. So there was a large chunk of time when I was just walking every day, and that was enough.
And I love that you said that because as I'm entering my 5th decade, I am more health focused right now. And I think I'm not fully menopausal. I think I'm perimenopausal. Mm-hmm. And so my hormones do fluctuate. I feel it like I'm going through all of that, and my energy levels are, so I'm trying to eat more according to my cycle. Mm-hmm. And trying to be more conscious of that. But in regards to fitness, I am being more gentle because I notice like my body just does not respond the way it used to. I used to be a runner, and that is dead. Knee injuries and all kinds of stuff have just killed all of that. Yeah. But I love how you're being more gentle because, like you said, even if it's walking, it's just movement. It's just giving your body a little bit of something to feel good. Do you find that as you're talking to people, I know for me, one of the struggles is advocating for my health at this point. Like it is so challenging when I go and talk to like the gynecologist. Like I told her, like, I think I'm in menopause, and she's just like, okay, we're going to run some tests. And then they never call back about the test. You know what I mean? It seems like that. Do you still find that you encounter that in your challenges, in your practice right now?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of experience with that. And that's why I educated myself to have dominion over my health, because I did experience our conventional medical system to be lacking and really only wanting to deliver pharmaceuticals. And, when I was in the throes of menopause. So this was after my pacemaker. So for your listeners, in 2011, I think I have some time just to let them know what happened. So my oldest daughter, so as you know, I have 5 children. My oldest daughter had just graduated from high school. And I was feeling very, very tired. I knew that from my awareness, it was like 6 weeks leading up to her graduation. And then we went on a big family trip to Turkey. And I was, I could tell that I was tired, but I was like, it's just, there's a lot going on. And when I launch her to college, I'll be able to rest and kind of catch up. But in the midst of that, I actually stabbed my finger pitting an avocado. And crazy story, right? And how I responded, I have found is just common to us females. I had come home. It was a hot summer day. I had come home with my kids and a friend and her kids, and I was hungry and I wanted something healthy to eat. And so I wanted to quickly make up the guacamole and then make dinner. So when I stabbed my finger, I was not going to go to the emergency room right away. No, that was going to interrupt everything I had planned. So I cleaned it, I wrapped it, continued, made the guacamole, ate, made dinner. And I'm like, I'm going to call the emergency room to see if they're busy. This is what women do.
Yeah, that's what we do. We keep going.
It's what we do. And so they weren't busy. I went over, and to my surprise, my heartbeat was 36 beats per minute, which is very, 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 very low.
Yeah.
And it brought off all the alarm bells for the cardiac team. And so my finger was they literally glued it, gave me a quick tetanus shot that I was deathly afraid of. And it was nothing more than a bee sting. And I ended up after, 6 hours in the ER in the middle of the night being admitted because they couldn't figure out what was wrong. And fast forward, the electrical conduction of my heart had burned out. They had never seen that in a 45-year-old woman. But they ruled everything out. Lyme's disease, the other reasons why the electrical conduction would go out. And so the only option was a pacemaker implant. But I will tell you, I was still incredibly tired. My doctor said, you're going to feel like your old self again. Only I didn't. I was still just as tired. My heart was beating now appropriately. So the pacemaker was pacing the heart, but I was still dragging. And so I started, going to doctors to figure out what is going on with me. And the gynecologist just said, you need an antidepressant. I'm like, but I'm not depressed. Like, right. I know I had postpartum depression. I knew, after our adoption, I had some depression. Interestingly, though, Pamela, I was living in Brazil when I felt that sadness, that depression. Okay. And you know what my doctor told me then in Brazil? She asked me, she knew that we had adopted. Doctors are very familiar with their patients in Brazil. Mm-hmm. And so they know a lot about you. They take time. It's not a 15-minute session. And she said, well, you need a vacation. Like, what are you doing? Get away with your husband. And I'm like, but I have 5 kids. And she said, I don't care. Find a way to get away. Like, you have to. And she didn't just say you need an antidepressant. Yeah. And so I did that. I got away and I had hired a coach. And then I started doing by myself 24-hour respites in a hotel very close to my house once a month.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
Just to rejuvenate, because I was carrying a heavy load. Yeah. So, now I'm back at the gynecologist, this new one in the US in 2011. And she says, well, women your age go on antidepressants. And I found that I was offended by that. And so I kept going. I went to an endocrinologist and I was pre-diabetic. And diabetes, all of the ancestors on my dad's side have adult onset obesity with diabetes. Mm-hmm. And that was, talk about intentionality, that woke me up because I loved baking and that was like a part of my love language. And I loved enjoying the cakes and the cookies and the pies and everything. Same. But I realized for me, there's nothing inherently wrong with those things, but for me, it was moving me in the wrong direction. And I needed to do cleanup work. So I started being intentional about sugar. These are just things I was doing on my own. I started reading, like, why might I be fatigued? And I stumbled upon the idea of adrenal fatigue. Started guiding my diet towards eating to restore my adrenals. And I discovered HeartMath through learning, reading about what's going on with my heart. And there was a book by a female cardiologist, When the Heart Speaks. Okay. And that she guided me towards HeartMath. And that really became this way to really connect with my heart and the wisdom in my heart through my breath. So that that crisis, and I've kind of lost trail in terms of why I wanted to share the story.
No, but I think it's perfect because it's kind of like it again, we kind of started out in a cycle of intentionality, and it shows that even from your youth to where you are now, it's like every part of your journey has been intention. Even with your health crisis, because literally, like you said, it was like it went from a little stab in the finger and something so minor, but it was a wake up call to a whole nother way that you were going to live your life. And it just shows how, to me, holistically, how intentional your life has been. And I can just see how magical that is.
Well, you know what? You asked me about what's my experience going to the doctor. Yeah. And so I was having these experiences going to the doctor where it just left me with nothing. It left me with nothing. And so it left me with myself. And that's how to be totally transparent, other than like an emergency situation and my pacemaker checkups and eventually the battery will run out. I'm 13 years in with my pacemaker. The battery will have to be replaced eventually. But I really see myself as the CEO of my health. And I know, like, I've studied functional nutrition from a clinical perspective, and I know I feel capable to, when I have a health challenge, I feel capable to do the research and the study and guide myself, because I actually don't want to be on pharmaceutical medication. So,
Right.
The conventional model, in some ways, when we're talking about the chronic conditions that we have and aging and wanting to age differently than what we see of the population, or what I saw, my beloved grandmother died in her 60s, and she was just such an important person in my life. She didn't have to die in her 60s, but no one she didn't feel empowered, or she did, for whatever reason. She was diabetic. She was obese. She ended up with a melanoma, carcinoma, skin cancer, and her body her immune system was not equipped to deal with it. Same with my dad. He died it doesn't matter how old, but late 60s or just like over 70. And he also very similar profile, and he got an infection in his brain, and his body could not fight it. So we have to decide, the conventional model is not going to show us how to grow old, feeling younger while growing older, or how to grow old in a way that we can still be active and functional.
True.
Our model now is you need long-term health insurance. Like, you're going to be in a long-term care facility, and you're going to need to be on a lot of medications. And I reject that. I firmly reject that, Pamela. And I know you can turn around chronic inflammation, chronic diseases. You can turn them around.
I totally agree with that. Because I have to admit, again, I just feel like this entire conversation is so intentional. Part of my 5th decade of health now in life, I'm looking at my health from a holistic standpoint. Not just, I'm not trying to get on a whole bunch of conventional medicines. I would rather eat more appropriately, move my body. But then I also look at my attitude as well. And that's why I think I keep focusing so much on intention, because I think that you have to do that if you're going to try to buck the system. I hate to say it, like, if you're going to try to stay off of conventional medicine, you have to look at it, to me, from a whole 360, mental, physical, everything, to make sure that you're controlling everything. And so I would turn it back to you to ask you, how do you feel about that approach? Or is that like something that you incorporate in your overall journey?
Yes, I am like nodding, and I want to just be shouting. I agree with you. And when you said mindset, it starts with the mindset. Why? Because the mindset, that is the stories we tell ourselves. What was happening with me in the new year? I was telling myself a story about not feeling well and my melancholy. That narrative, the mindset, sets in motion feeling states. Feeling states set in motion that the body physically then releases hormones based on your feeling state. And then if you don't metabolize them and know how to work through them, that's when we get issues in our tissues. That's when we get body breakdown. So it actually really does start with the mindset. But it needs all of those things. And, I mentioned earlier, the soul, that's a part of it.
Yeah.
That the soul is like right there, and you can't move one of those without impacting the others. Totally. So you have to that's the alchemy. Each person's alchemy is that interrelated connectedness between the body, the mind, and the soul. Yes. And how we care and bring all of them along with us on the journey.
Absolutely. Because it was funny when we were talking earlier and you were telling me asking me about my letter to surrender. And I wrote that, or I had to write it, because I started to feel overwhelmed in my soul by wanting to do things my way versus actually surrendering to what I needed to surrender. I needed to surrender to God. I needed to surrender to the moments that I'm in. And it was starting to well up in me as anxiety. And it was starting to well up in me as stress. And I was like, I'm going to make myself sick. because I do have hypertension and I have to try to control that. And because I know that when my emotions are out of whack, I eat out of whack. I'm like, it's just, it affects me on so many levels. So it's like, I have to be honest and make sure that I'm controlling my thoughts and my energy and my mind in order to make sure that I stay the course and work out and treat myself the way that I'm supposed to. Because in this next decade of my life, I am not open to treating this temple badly. Like I have finally realized at 50, this is a temple. I got to treat it good. I got to take care of her.
Absolutely. It is. And I love that, Pamela. I think so many women come into the 5th decade with that awareness because they've gained it from those decades of experience. And I really support you on your journey. And I think it's a beautiful opportunity because, whatever, I call them, and this is from the HeartMath framework, depleting emotions. We want to cast aside depleting emotions, but they're a part of the human experience. And to know and to be able to mine the information when we have emotions that are undesirable, they show up for a reason and they want to be seen. And we can get quiet with ourselves and ask our mind-body system, hey, why are you hanging out? What's going on, anxiety? And, for your case, you needed to surrender to the myriad of dynamics that was happening in your life that you had no control over, sister. I mean, and isn't that what being a mom teaches us, that control is an absolute illusion?
I would imagine, because like I don't have kids. I have a senior citizen and I have my younger sister. But that's okay. That's like having kids.
It is.
I totally can relate. But it's just like, yes, it's like you get to this point in life where it's like, if you have kids, you have a family, you're right. It's like you can't control everything, but we try. Like we try, like I'm an A-type personality and I have to lean into the fact that I am an A-type personality. I just have to lean into the fact I am just like my mother. And I am stubborn and I can be, I always tell her I'm like the best parts of her, but I am just as stubborn as she is. And so I have to dial that back because I want to live a different life. I want to live a life that's healthy. I want to live a life emotionally healthy. So it's like trying to look at it all on one big level. And it's really, really hard at the same time where I'm about to enter menopause. And I'm just like, my emotions are boop, 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 all over the place. So it's like, that's why I'm so glad we're having this conversation because you're inspiring me to see that the intentionality of it all will pay off. So that makes me wonder, like now going into 2023, you said that you're working on being more like strength focused, strength training twice a week. Do you have like a word or like a practice that you have started for 2023 that kind of help you on your journey?
Yeah. So the word that really came to me is the idea of foundation and practice every day. And actually, it's kind of it's that combination. Intention is a part of it, but it is having, and it is, I already have it, but recognizing that these things I do every day are preparing the way. It's the preparedness. What you do every day prepares you for what's to come. And so that's what really came to me. Actually, the actual word was prepared. As I'm really talking about it now, what I wrote down in my journal was preparedness. And so it wasn't like a lightning. Sometimes we get a word for the year or a way forward that's kind of a lightning bolt.
Right.
And it wasn't that lightning bolt, but it was like, yeah, that resonates. And so, how that plays out for me, I already mentioned the daily quiet time. I'm moving my body every day. I'm walking every day. I'm in Miami, so I love to ride my bike. So I'll ride my bike. But I do have this thing that I love. It's called a power plate.
Okay.
And it's a vibrational, plate that you stand on. It vibrates and you can do exercises on it. And it also it's really, you should, look it up.
I'm gonna look it up. Totally.
It's a real powerful piece of equipment that's just like right here in my home that I get on every day. And it has a 9-minute cycle. I've been using it for the past 2 years, so it's not necessarily new. But it does, I don't know. I really like that. It's a part of my daily rhythm. And
see, I love that though, but you found something that works for you and you love it. So this is not a one size fits all journey. So.
Oh, it's not. It's that's why, when people give me, the formula. Well, the formula is unique to each person. Not everybody has diabetes in their genes.
Yeah.
And so this is why I love the work that I do from the functional nutrition and lifestyle practitioner perspective, the training, where I'm able to take somebody and show them their health history from pre-birth to current. And then we look at, okay, this is what's happening now. These are your symptoms now. This is your, the genes from your family. These are the triggers in your life. These are the mediators, the things that make your symptoms better or worse. These are the symptoms and how they impact all the different aspects of who you are, physiologically, mind, body, spirit. And then we have the strategy. These are the things that you can do to impact your health. It's very powerful. It's super comprehensive, but it's unique. That process is unique to each person.
Yeah. And I like that because again, I think we all kind of have to start looking at it, especially as we are entering these phases of our lives, that we can't expect just like a cookie cutter version or cookie cutter plan to our health and wellness, because it's going to look totally different for all of us based on, like you said, our genetic makeup, where we are emotionally, what we're willing to commit to. So I love how you try to create that uniqueness in your practice and with yourself. So how can we support you or learn, work with you? Where can my audience connect with you?
Thank you, Pamela. That's so sweet. So I have a podcast, Vitally You, Feeling Younger While Growing Older. And it is, listening to your podcast, I feel like we have some similarities because there's some solo episodes. We bring guests in.
Yep.
It's the narrative. It's a conversation, learning from one another. It's such a powerful process. So that would be wonderful. Subscribe to my podcast. Meet me on my podcast. This week, it was a solo episode about depleting emotions, what we've touched on here today. Next week, it's going to be a meditation.
Ooh, I need some of that.
Yeah. So the podcast, I'm most active on Instagram. I'm not that active on Facebook. I do have a presence there. My website is danafrost.com. I do have a free giveaway if you sign up for my newsletter, and that is Tips for Daily Vitality. It's a really good, it's an excellent ebook on, hey, here are some things that you can do to boost your vitality.
Oh, awesime. I'll definitely make sure I put a link to the website and everything in the show notes, because I want to make sure that we can engage, because I love the fact that we have that in common, where, like you said, there's commonalities about our conversations and just kind of share and learn from our experiences. I have like a few little rapid fire questions to ask you just to kind of wrap it up.
Sure.
Okay. So first question, what is one thing that you have learned about yourself over the past year that surprised you?
Oh, that's such a great question. Just give me a moment to think about this.
Totally fine.
One thing I've learned about myself over the past, does it have to be something new that I've learned, or something that just seems to be
something that surprised you? It could be anything you want it to be.
Something that surprised me. Well, okay, this is a good one, Pamela. So I have been married, will be 33 years in April.
Congratulations in advance.
Thank you. It's a big, we recognize, it's a big accomplishment. And, there's a lot that's gone into making it this far. And my husband has always traveled a lot. And, it's how we've been married. And so to be honest, it's not like I really missed him, because I was used to us being, together and apart, together and apart. Well, now that my permanent home is Miami and his permanent home is Chicago, although like I'm in Chicago most of the summer, we're not together as much, and I'm alone a lot more of the time. And so it has surprised me. I've actually missed him. And so that's, that has been surprising. I have missed him, and I'm an introvert, like in my true person. I am an introvert, although I love people and I'm good with people.
Right.
I need people more than what I thought. Yeah.
That I love that. And it's funny. I had someone else tell me that recently, that they've discovered that they need people a lot more than they thought that they did. Do you, I know that we're kind of like, it depends on how you feel. This is kind of just a question I thought about. Since the pandemic has kind of like tampered down, do you feel like that could it be because of the pandemic that you feel like you need people more? Or is there another reason why you feel like that?
Pamela, I definitely think the pandemic had such a big impact where we were separated from people, and it shifted relationships. And we all became more comfortable with being separated. And what it showed me, I think, to answer your question, yes, it showed me, the human is not good when it's separated. And so the pandemic definitely impacted that comment.
No, and I was just literally curious because I feel the same way. I think even though we were separated and those times were great, I did realize how much I love being around like people, and especially like getting that energy and having conversations like this. Even though yes, we're on a streaming platform, it still is that connection. So I was curious about that. But I think that's beautiful. And I'm sure your husband would love to know that you miss
He knows. Yeah, he knows.
I love that. So then my second question, just off the kind of cuff, because I'm kind of curious and I've been asking people lately, what is like one song that you listen to that just helps you like feel like all your little swagger, or makes you feel confident, or makes you feel fun? Just that one song that you play.
So I love music, and I will be obsessed with a song and play it over on repeat when I get obsessed with the song.
Same.
It's just like over and over and over. So the song that most stands out this year, and I want you to go listen to it. It's beautiful. I can send it to an email. It's called There She Is.
Okay.
It's not a pop song.
Okay.
It is. I have goosebumps just thinking about it, but it is for us women and our power. This song I feel like was divinely inspired. It's incredibly powerful. So that's a song that really stands out to me this year. It has been, just a deep presence in my soul, that song.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm definitely going to look it up, and I'm going to link it because yes, I love those kinds of songs. I don't think it has to be poppy. It's just those songs sometimes that just grab you and touch your soul. So I love that. Okay. So then my final question, what is one thing that you would want my audience to know about you that you haven't already said?
You ask great questions, Pamela. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know if this has come across, but I do feel, I know that I am innately gifted with seeing and hearing when I'm with somebody, really being able to pick up on things that maybe they don't say or aren't, don't have the courage to say. And I can listen and see somebody in a way that they feel seen and heard. And I think that that was divinely gifted to me. I believe that. And so I kind of consider that my superpower, because it's what we all, as humans, we want to be seen and heard. And to be able to give that to someone is really powerful.
100%. And I totally could agree, because I feel like this conversation has been magical. Yeah. I do. I feel like you have that that intention and you've had it all your life. And I just admire that in you. So thank you for sharing that with me. And thank you for coming on the podcast. I am truly honored to have had this conversation with you. I really am.
Pamela, thank you. Well, it's just been such a pleasure to meet you and to be here, but just to know more about your story. Like I'm really loving your podcast. So thank you so much. It's been a gift.
Isn't Dana awesome? I really enjoyed our conversation, and she just is such a light and so intentional. So I just hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. I will make sure that I have all of Dana's information as well as my information in the show notes. I really want to thank you guys for continuing to listen and support. I hope you have an amazing rest of the weekend. Take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll talk again soon. Bye-bye.